Discovered wife had been cheated on me, and DNA test revealed my child isn't mine. So I liquidated all my assets and ran off to a remote country cause she demanded all my wealth in divorce. I've been married to my wife for years, and we have a 1-year-old daughter. We've all been happy together. They've helped me build a successful business from next to nothing, and I'm more than grateful for everything they've done for me. I met my wife right after I graduated, and I was trying to do or sell anything for a quick buck. But at the time, most people saw me for what I was, but not her. She saw my potential and worked tirelessly alongside me until I became who I am today. Almost a decade later, I'm now the owner of multiple successful businesses, all of which I couldn't have done without her. We've also been married for 5 years, and our baby girl came into the world a year ago. With her in the picture, our relationship has changed a lot. We went from business partners and love to a family, and she started staying at home more to take care of our child. Meanwhile, I started taking care of more of the day-to-day management. I've always been the decision maker, and now I'm not just steering the ship, but also sweeping the decks and maintaining the boards. These changes had to be made. What else were we supposed to do? But I've been seeing less of my wife, and the stress of raising a child has not been kind to her either. However, I took notice of something in our baby that has me concerned. See, both me and my wife have brown eyes, and so did our baby. But sometimes when they're young they change colors, and that's exactly what happened. Over the past month or so, my baby's eyes have been changing from brown to a shade of blue. And this has me worried because I don't know anyone in my family with blue eyes. Knowing what I know about genetics, this is not a good sign. Normally, I would chalk it up to paranoia, but the way she's been treating and talking about the baby adds to my fears. I've done business with her enough times to know how she works, and she's been acting like this baby is an investment, and a good one at that. It's more than enough for me to know that something's up, so I decided to get a paternity test. In one of the rare nights where I get to be alone with my child, I plucked one of her hairs as a sample. The next day, I took it to a lab and asked them to test it against mine. And I'm still waiting for the results. We'll update when I get them back. Update. Results came back. I'm not the father, and something tells me that she already knows. Everything seems too fishy for this to be an accident. I've mentioned that our relationship hit a rough patch when the baby came, but I don't think I've gone into enough detail. On top of the stress that comes with raising an infant, she's been acting cold and distant towards me. Every time I try to get involved with our baby, she pushes me away and says she can handle it alone. Despite the fact that during the few times we talk, she always complains about how hard it is to raise a child. However, when she looks at her, she doesn't have a look of exhaustion on her face. There's a glimmer in her eyes. Not the spark of love, but the shine that only comes out when she sees a golden goose. On top of that, the one and only subject that she seems to want to talk about with me are our finances. Normally, that wouldn't worry me, since we started off as business partners. But the way she asks about it is borderline obsessive, and she's asking for some really specific figures. If she is plotting something, then she isn't hiding it very well. All of this is simply too much, and I decided to confront her about it. I'll ask if she knows the baby isn't mine and who the real father is. Might not be the best idea to show my cards right now, but she'll know that I know, and that's enough to stop whatever scheme she's thinking of. So I told her about the DNA test and asked her what's up. Immediately she got defensive, asked why I got that test, and accused me of not trusting her. In all honesty, I was losing more trust in her every minute than it went by. But I wasn't just about to give in to that line of questioning. I said that her blue eyes gave it away and asked her who the father was. She acted stunned that I would even want to know, said that it was none of my business, and hurled another accusation at me, that I was trying to dodge the responsibility of parenting and push it on someone else. I said that this isn't about who's responsible for what, it's about our relationship. And in hindsight, my reply was a massive blunder. Right away, she started guilt-tripping me about focusing more on the business and the baby. Even though we decided that's how it's going to be, and her insistence that she be the sole caretaker of the child. I told her exactly that every time I tried to be a father, she didn't let me be one. To that she said, "So what? If I really wanted to be a dad, I would have pushed harder regardless of what she says." This wasn't going anywhere. She spun it from a conversation about her cheating to me apparently being a shitty father. And anytime I brought up our relationship, She doubled down and accused me yet again of trying to dodge responsibility. It didn't matter what I said, how hard I pushed back. If I tried to understand it all, she was unyielding. So I had to accept what she was saying. Fine, I said. Maybe I wouldn't want to raise a kid that isn't mine and fell out of a cheating succubus. She looked totally shocked, backed off, and walked away. But I know even that's a facade. I couldn't help but notice the smirk peeling from the back of her head. We haven't spoken since, and I think I know what's coming next. She'll serve me divorce papers and demand everything. When the dust settles, I'll tell you guys what happens next. Last update. I was right. The next morning she handed me divorce papers while I was waiting for my tea to boil. The date was from last week, so she's been planning this for a while. And her demands were outrageous. She wanted full custody, ownership of all my assets, as well as 60% of my earnings and child support. The maximum she could ask for. When I called out everything she wanted as ridiculous, she justified it by saying it's what she's owed after years of running my businesses. I could argue that we were partners and everything was 50-50 and all that nonsense, but it doesn't change the fact that this could absolutely ruin me. I doubt the judge would give her everything she's asking for, but even by a conservative estimate, I'll be in debt for the rest of my life. When I saw the papers, I knew that I had no choice but to take what I can and abandon ship. I spent that entire day going door to door to all my stores, emptying out the safes, and finding someone I can trust to be in charge when I'm gone. I also withdrew all the money in my bank accounts so that I have everything I need without a paper trail. When she actually comes to collect her haul from the divorce, there will be nothing left to take. I spent that night in a hotel, researching countries without U.S. extradition laws, and eventually booked a flight to an island's nation that would be unwise to name in this post. I realize that this is the nuclear option, but in practice, it's more like retirement. I have enough money to live comfortably there for the rest of my life, and the island itself is beautiful, with plenty of luxuries for me to spend the rest of my days indulging in. As much as a nightmare situation this is, I know people who dream of having something like this happening to them. I'm leaving forever without saying my goodbyes to anyone. Right now, I'm typing this in the bathroom of a Wendy's 5 minutes away from the airport. And as soon as I post this, I'll throw away my phone. All my other socials are already deleted, and this one will soon be deleted too. With my online presence scrubbed from the internet, this Reddit post is the only record left that I'm here. My father is sending me any messages. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. I can assure you that wherever I am right now, I'm happy. And if you were here from the beginning, thank you. Goodbye. Alright, next cheating story. My wife 38 and I 39 have been together for 16 years, dating for 7, married the rest. And we now have 3 children. Our history has been a wealth of happiness and blessings, but a recent incident uncovered something jolting from the past. About 1 month ago, I noticed that my wife was suddenly focusing a lot of evening attention on her phone. I confronted her about it and discovered that a younger coworker had begun chatting with her online. She claimed that it was completely innocent, but admitted to deleting the chat logs because it felt wrong. She later admitted that he was engaging her in a flirty manner and that she enjoyed the thrill of the attention. She ultimately addressed the issue at work, and we considered it closed. While I wasn't crazy about the entire situation, I can honestly understand it. My wife is warm, caring, and absolutely gorgeous. Receiving attention from a young, attractive male must have had a tremendous effect on confidence and ego for a mother in her late 30s. The stress of the situation led me to think back to something that occurred 10 years ago, 6 years into our dating relationship. To set the stage, my wife, girlfriend at the time, had begun pressuring me towards marriage. And in my foolish youth, I was resistant. I relented to moving in together, and we spent most of our time socializing with friends and family. We were comfortable in our lives, and I didn't have a lot of drive for more. Very similar to the recent event, I remembered noticing that she was devoting a lot of attention to online chatting. And after some investigation, I found inappropriate conversations with the male coworker. The messages weren't obscene, but they were overly familiar. I confronted her and learned that no physical affair had occurred, but she admitted that she was not happy in our relationship and was considering leaving me. That's where my memory of the event ends. I remember nothing else of our confrontation, other than I was devastated. She was remorseful and we decided to change things and make it work. In the months immediately afterwards, several things happened. My wife found a new job, I got my act together, school and work, and we got engaged. The 10 years beyond that have been a fairy tale. We're both highly successful with a growing and beautiful family. We've spoken a number of times about the problem back then, and I accepted it as a learned lesson that forced us to grow up. I completely understood why she was about to leave me, and it's driven me ever since. I'm reasonably confident that no similar events have occurred since. In the days following our recent event, I revisited the past and questioned whether or not I really knew the full story. After some tense discussion, she confessed to withholding the extent of that relationship from years ago. The details she shared were somewhat disjointed and disconnected, but here are some examples. They flirted often through text messages rife with sexual innuendos, held hands away from work, and he awkwardly attempted to kiss her on 2 occasions. They hugged on one occasion and professed their desire for each other. She admitted to fantasizing about him during sex with me, and then further confessed that one day she had left for work, planning to sleep with him later that day. Her claim is that the thought of hurting me beyond what she had already done prevented her from going through with it. She canceled their plans and told them that they couldn't continue down the path that they were on. She resolved herself to devote everything to our relationship, and here we are. Needless to say, I was devastated all over again. Our fairy tale history was suddenly a partial lie. She had kept this from me for 10 years. Through our engagement, our wedding, the births of our children, and every up and down along the way. I turned to the internet and learned about emotional affairs, and now I find myself in a hugely challenging situation. I want to believe her. I want to believe that I know the whole story now, but I find myself wanting to know every single detail possible. I want to know what messages they sent each other, and I want to know every emotional and physical interaction that occurred. She claims that most of the memories have been lost over time, but she swears that I now know every major detail that she's kept from me. She's been gracious through my constant questions and mood swings as I work through this. I can tell, though, that the strain of not moving beyond it is quickly beginning to take its toll on both of us. Somehow, I wanted to understand that I have to know everything in order to move on. It happened a decade ago, but she's lied to me that entire time. Truth be told, I don't feel that the details would impact anything beyond my desire to resolve the unknown past. I'm not going to leave her and erase her years of marital joy, even if she were to confess to sleeping with him. For me, it's more about knowing that she's had the courage to fully share a part of our history that I knew absolutely nothing about. How do I ever believe someone who's held a lie from the person that they're closest to in the universe for 10 years? How do I move beyond this?